welcome back to my channel. It is Yasmin here. If you're brand new, welcome, and if you're returning, welcome. I did this story time a year ago when I had just kind of started my channel, but I really think that I'm going to be doing this every single year around about the same time because it's something so important to me and it's something that I need to share with all of you. Now, I'm just going to do a disclaimer in the start of this that no, I don't have brain cancer. I never had brain cancer. When they did the biopsy of what they removed from my brain, it was malignant. But in saying this, I did have brain surgery. I almost died. I could have been a permanent disability. And so I feel that this particular video is fitting for this particular time of the year. So we're currently in winter in Australia, and in July is kind of like the middle of winter-ish here. And we wear beanies a lot, like I am sure that you wear beanies a lot when you are in winter as well, wherever you are from. So we have something that is here called beanies for brain cancer. And beanies for brain cancer is like buying a beanie. They're usually about $25. Now there are caps as well, and they're also bagged. The money goes towards research for prevention and a cure for brain cancer. And so here we go to my story and my story time. So I've spoken about this in my channel before and I'm quite open and public about it, but I left home when I was 15 years old. Now this particular video isn't about that, but kind of relates to this whole entire story. So I left home when I was 15, then I lived in a refuge, then I lived in like housing, which was government housing, but I had a housemate, if that made sense. So I had suffered from chronic headaches from about 9 years of age. And I'm talking chronic headaches where I saw stars and everything. My mother worked in healthcare and we lived in a small country town at that particular time. So her colleagues were people also in healthcare. And when I was getting these really bad headaches, like I'm talking, I would get sent home from school, I would be vomiting, and I would even know when they were coming on in the morning, I would be taking like paracetamol with codeine, and that's like a strong painkiller. And now codeine is only on prescription in Australia like it is in the United States. So I had these debilitating headaches almost every day of my life from about 9 years of age. And when my mother took me to the doctors, the doctor said she needs glasses. He did a little eye test, and so off my mother took me to the optometrist to get reading glasses because they said, well, I am short-sighted, so therefore things that are far away become really quite blurry. The problem here then was that I was still getting my migraines, like debilitating migraines. Like I would get sent home from school, I would see stars, I would be taking codeine like regularly just because I knew when one was coming on, but sometimes, you know, it was a little too late, I might be at school and nothing ever happened. Like I would get told, oh, you're not wearing your glasses at school. The doctors didn't do anything extra to kind of investigate what was causing these really bad headaches. I'm just going to say, if you're having headaches and they're really debilitating bad headaches, guys, go get tested. Ask for an MRI scan. It's your health, your body, you need it. I've been into hospitals like sometimes before, and I've even had like heard people mention similar things to this, and I've heard the doctors say, oh no, we're not going to give you a CT scan or an MRI, you know, rah, rah, rah. And I think to myself, why? I know that CTs are radiation, but MRIs are not, they're magnetic. And you know what? Like investigating this is better than what happened to me. So time went on, like I'm talking 6, 7 years, right? 6, 7 years of taking codeine all the time and dealing with these headaches all the time. Like veins would pop out of my forehead. It was bad, guys, like bad. Nobody ever decided to investigate anything, but my mother would be, yeah, stop wearing your glasses at school. But I would think to myself, and I would say this, if this was the case, how could I see the board at school? Why am I able to do my homework? Why am I able to do anything at school if I can't see the board because I'm not wearing my glasses? This made no sense, but her reasoning was her colleagues, the doctors, said to her, this is what's causing my headaches without any further investigation. So I was living out of home at this next particular stage. I was 15. It was the eve of my 16th birthday. So we're in July, which is kind of like irony that my birthday's in July. It's always the anniversary of this happening, and it's also the kind of beanies for brain cancer time as well. Like it kind of is very, it's all in this month. So why I feel like doing this every single time of the same year. But anyway, so it was the eve of my 16th birthday. My 16th birthday, sweet 16. It was a very important one. I was just hanging out at the refuge, but I was already living like obviously in the share house, and one of my headaches decided to come on. Now I was taking paracetamol with codeine as per usual, but this particular day, it just wasn't going away. Like nothing was working to help it go. Like I would just massage it. I took painkillers, and so I just thought, you know what, I just need to go home and rest. I didn't feel like birthday cake. I didn't feel like anything, right? So I went home. My housemate at that time was out with her boyfriend. She was hardly ever there at the house anyway because she had a boyfriend. So I decided, stupid me, but I didn't know what was going to happen. Made a bath. So I was in the bath, and I just think now, like, oh my goodness, thank goodness that my housemate came home when she did, because had she not have come home when she did, I literally would have drowned and died by drowning, because I just remember that my head was just sorer and sorer and sorer and sorer and sorer. Then I heard her come home. Thank God she came home. I stood up in the bath. By this stage, I just felt delirious. Like I just felt like dizzy. Like I don't know what I felt like. I just felt like, I don't know. So I stood up in the bath and I called her name, and that was it. That's all I remember. I just remember her coming in, calling her, and I don't even know why I did that. I guess like I just felt like, oh my gosh, like something's not right going on in my body. And then that's it. Black. If you've ever had an operation and you've had anesthetic and everything just kind of goes black, and it feels like the shortest period of time has just gone by, like literally you close your eyes for a second and then you've woken up, but really a lot of time has gone by. That's exactly what it was like. I don't remember anything, and it felt like I don't know. It was just like a really short period of time, but I know a long time had gone by because I woke up. Like I was naked in a bathtub. She'd had called an ambulance, and I had clothes on when I'd gotten to the hospital, and I've been in hospital. So I don't know how many hours exactly had gone by, except it was the early evening, late afternoon when I had this bath, and when I was in hospital, it was the morning. So I was out of it and unconscious for a long time. So I woke up, and my GP, the same doctor who'd said she needs glasses and that's why she's getting these headaches, was standing over me. And I knew where I was. It was the hospital that my mother worked in. It's my mother's colleague and the doctor that said that. But he did the standard rigmarole that I'm sure if you've ever been in this situation or you know the drill, your name, do you know where you are, your date of birth, blah, 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 to kind of ascertain familiarity, to see if there's any kind of concussion and things that are going on and how much damage has been done in your brain in that moment. I knew where I was. I had full cognitive memory. I said, I know who you are, I know where I am, I know my name, I know my date of birth. Irony is that my date of birth was that day and I had just turned 16. So I woke up on my 16th birthday in hospital. So he then said to me, you've had a seizure. Have you ever had a seizure before? And I said, no. And he said, have you been taking anything? I go, no. And then said, this is what I was doing yesterday. Obviously, maybe, you know, the eve of my 16th birthday, someone might think that, oh, you know, I've been out on, you know, doing something, partying or drinking or, you know what I mean? Like you just kind of, someone would come to that assumption. But no, I had just had a regular day and yeah. He then discharged me, like after I'd, you know, made sure that I was okay, my obs and little observations for the rest of the day, discharged me with a referral for a CT scan. At that particular time, because I was in a regional town, they didn't have an MRI machine. We only had a CT machine, which is obviously radiation. So, which is maybe why to do the MRI scan and refer me, there was no actual valid reason why he couldn't have sent me to the city to go get an MRI scan sooner regarding these bad migraines. So I went and did the CT scan and it came back with like white dots. And I read the report, obviously. Like, I don't know about you, but me, whenever I get something, I open it up and I read the report anyway. So I opened it up and it said suspected arteriovenous malformation. You know what arteriovenous malformation is? It is, we can get them all over the body wherever there is an artery, and the artery itself, the blood vessels grow in like a knot. Now, what I saw on this CT scan is it was very big. So, and it said in the occipital region. Now, in your eyes, attached to your eyes, there's like 2 main arteries in the occipital region, and they kind of control the eyesight, or they help the blood flow to the eyeballs, and the occipital region is the part of the brain that helps your eyes, like your read and your vision and everything. So then I went back to the GP and he said to me this: I need to refer you to a neurosurgeon. Well, I end up getting referred to a professor. Thank goodness I saw a professor, because if someone's going to operate in your brain, you really want someone who is like knows what they're doing, because going into your brain, like going into your heart, and something that once damage is done, it's irreversible, right? So got a referral, was in the city, took myself to this professor, and I'm sure this professor was just like looking at me going, where the hell are your parents? I was just turned 16 years old. Did some more things like an angiogram where they put the catheter inside the groin here, up into my neck, and pumped dye into my brain while they did another scan to actually ascertain what the blood vessels are doing. And he said to me, look, it's quite large, but the occipital region's on the outside of the brain. Sometimes we embolize them or clip them, but in your case, I think we need to remove it. And it's, you know, because on the outside it'll be easier to get to. Then obviously some of them are too far deep and they're too hard to get to. I said, well, I guess you better remove it then. And he was like looking at me like, where the hell are your parents? Really? But I was like, okay, whatever. So then I had to go back. He put me on anti-seizure medication so that I wouldn't have any more seizures. And I was on 2 different kinds. Like the first one that he gave me made me high. Like I remember just like going, woo, like everything just made me really nice. So he switched me over to another one called Tegretol, and that was really great. I was on Tegretol for also another 6 months after the operation as well. Then I had to go back about a month later for the actual surgery. Now, I've never had a surgery before in my life before this, so I was just kind of like, whatever, you know, like whatever, it's a surgery. I was just actually so wanted this thing out of me so that I could go on and live my life. I knew that there were risks involved with this surgery, but I didn't really like, do you know what I mean? I didn't really care. I wanted this thing out of me. The only person that I told was my best friend, and obviously my mother knew at the time, and the doctor knew, and my boyfriend at the time. I didn't want anyone's sympathy. I didn't want anyone's empathy. I just wanted to deal with this on my own. So I had the surgery. Oh my gosh, like I don't even know. I think I've read I have like my whole file here, and I think I was in ICU like a couple of days after that. I have to like refresh my memory as to how long I was in ICU. I have no recollection of that at all. Like I honestly don't. I only have recollection of like when I got back to my room, because I know that when I was in ICU, I would have been like, I know I had this drain on the back of my head, like thing to it, and I know I was in a hell of a lot of pain and I was on morphine. So that kind of part of it was a hell of a lot of blur, and I remember so much pain for a good few days. And what happened after the surgery, and I don't know if this happened as a result of the surgery or this happened as part of the seizure, is that I lost a quarter of my vision on both of my eyes. This is only something that I found out kind of recently, but when I woke up out of the surgery, and like after I was able to eat and kind of move and the pain and everything went away, it was just kind of like in my room when I had something to do, and I don't remember the exact moment in which I realized this, but I couldn't read. Like everything just looked like lines or black or I don't know what, but I couldn't make out and process what I was looking at. Numbers, words, anything, like none of it made sense to me. And I learned to read and write when I was 3 years old, so I'm very, very literate. And for me not to be able to read and write was the most distressing part of this whole entire thing. Like I just couldn't read or write. Of course, I called my surgeon in, the professor in, and I said, you know, I can't read or write. And he pulled out like the Bible because it was just there, right? And I couldn't read or write. Then they put me onto an occupational therapist. Now I had to read, because I was living out of home, I still got sent home by myself. Like I was living with that housemate at the time. I had to go do groceries on my own. In the same sense, it was kind of like a blessing that was, because I was able to rehabilitate myself to be able to read and write on my own. I had to go to the groceries and I couldn't even make out what money that I was handing to pay for groceries. Like going down in the aisle, and I remember, never forget this, like looking at the aisles and not being able to make out what things were, like in the aisle, what things were, the description, like the writing on the jars or anything, and the prices. Like I just didn't know. Like I just had to go, oh, bread, oh, this. Like I could work out what things were, but I just couldn't read. It was like the most horrific thing ever. But slowly I was able to read and write again. At this particular point in my life, I'm still a slower reader because it's never 100%. Like when you've got damage to the brain, it's never going to go back to how it was before. So I read and write quite well now, but it's still a lot slower, especially when I'm reading and I'm verbalizing it. Like it took a long, long time. And the only way I really got around that was constant reading, like all the time, studying and reading. And it was a really good thing that I did take myself to TAFE after that, because I also lost year 11 in my school as a result of all of this debacle. You know, when they took the staples out, which didn't hurt at all, I had like a big like cut, like in the shape of a shoehorn, like it's a giant like cut. I've got a giant scar there, and hairdressers can see it when they do my hair, and when I get to know a hairdresser kind of well, they ask me, what's that scar from? But kind of like when it's a new hairdresser, they never ask me, because, you know, it's kind of, you know, it's kind of a sensitive thing to kind of just ask someone. But I do have plates and screws that are inside my skull. Obviously, when they put the skull back on, they have to put plates and screws there, so they're like permanently there all the time. When they did the surgery on me, it was like calcified as well, so it had to come out. And they also found 2 aneurysms as well when they did the surgery. So those aneurysms were in my brain and would have popped. Like I could have just been a dead person, like if that hadn't all, you know what I mean? But they did the biopsy on it and it was malignant, which means non-cancerous. Thank goodness. So when I say I didn't have cancer, no, I didn't. They did the biopsy on what was removed and it was non-cancerous. But some people do have these and they could be malignant as well. It just, you know what I mean? They need to biopsy these things. So I was in hospital then for about a week afterwards. And then I found out later that I actually lost a quarter of my vision in both of my eyes. So technically, guys, I have a disability. But I wouldn't categorize myself as having a disability, but I kind of do. They technically categorize it as that if you've had like a permanent brain injury, which I have, but I don't identify as that. So a quarter of my vision, the top bit there, because that is obviously connected to the left side of the artery in the occipital region, I am blind. Plus I'm short-sighted, which is why I wear glasses and contact lenses. But there is like literally nothing I can do ever about the vision that I have lost there. And I kind of like don't really notice it there because it happened when I was quite young, like 16, that I kind of just feel like it's normal. Like I don't really know any different to what I kind of like know. If you ever have any kind of headaches or migraines and everything, sometimes doctors are wrong. A lot of the time doctors are wrong. They learn what they learn in their textbooks or whoever taught them. It's really up to you to go seek out your second opinions and to be intuitive with your body and your own mind about what it is with your own self that's going on. But I can tell you that if you're suffering headaches on a regular, ongoing basis, it's not normal and you really do need to get it checked out. I was lucky that my housemate came home when she did. I could have drowned, or I could have just like had the seizure on my own, not known I had a seizure, continued on. With an AVM, there is a 2% chance that the older that you get, that you will have a full-blown stroke. So I'm actually so blessed that I had got to that, even though it was later and it could have been detected earlier, I could have had a stroke, or I could have been a vegetable in the surgery, like completely, you know, I could have just something bad, worse could have happened than losing a quarter of my vision in both eyes. I got out of this really easily, and I've even had some surgeons and doctors even look at me and say like, whoa, because it's a very rare thing that happens. I think that an arteriovenous malformation in the brain is about 1% of the world's population will have one or get one. It's really, really rare. And sometimes when they do that surgery, that they have to cut you here and turn your heart off while they do the surgery to stop the blood flow to the brain. I know, sort off of this, like extremely lucky. We don't know what caused it. I was born with it. It's probably like something in my genes or something that happened. Obviously, it's something that happened in utero, like when I was in my mother's stomach, that caused this to happen. But if you have headaches at all, please get it checked out. You know, we all get headaches from time to time. But honestly, if it's like bad chronic headaches like what I was getting all the time, it's not normal. And if your child is having it, and even if the doctor says, oh, we're not going to investigate, or if they have a seizure, investigate, please. I hope you found this video very informative. If you did, please remember to give me the thumbs up, the subscribe, and the bell notification if you would like to see more. My channel isn't really about this. This is not like a topic that I go into all throughout my channel, but it's obviously something that's very personal to me and I want to share with you. And you may have similar experiences, or you may, be suffering from chronic migraines all the time and have a doctor that doesn't want to investigate further. But it's something that is, quite important to me, and I'm probably just going to repeat this every single year, I think. Well, please stay safe, and we'll see you next time.